Imagine sitting inside of your room alone and you're talking to a camera for around like 4 minutes and then you realize for the whole time that you actually wasn't recording. I know, something really crazy and a mistake that I will never make because I'm a professional and I am a perfect human. I never made a mistake once in my life. I know, it's really hard to be as amazing as me, but don't worry, keep on trying, you might make it there eventually. But not so long ago I was sitting down and talking with some friends because yes, I do have friends. And basically, to speedrun the conversation, we were talking about video game remakes, and one of them ended up bringing up the point saying that why does companies never take a game that was bad and remake it to actually be good? And one day ended up saying that that was something that I've been thinking about for the past few days, because that is something that is true. Now, I think we all know how most remakes go in the modern day. You take a game that was rather one, extremely popular back then, or two, a cult classic, a game that is really good, but it didn't really have that much of a big fan base at the time, but maybe in the future the IP is like relevant now, and then you go and remake the game. I think a current example of a big video game remake that ended up coming out is being Persona 3, which is still the only Persona game which I actually played, and that is something that makes sense for a lot of companies to do, because if you have a game, I'm just going to continue using Persona 3 as an example, it's something that everyone ended up talking about on the internet, saying just how amazing the game is. I mean, of course it makes sense for you as a company to basically take that, remake it, get rid of all of the like old game jank that most people don't want to deal with, modernize it, and then repackage it, resell it, and then go and make $1 million and probably win a game award or something. That's just something that completely makes sense. It's something that I think is very easy to do on the company side. I mean, I know game development is really hard, but like half of the work is basically already done for you. And I think that most video game remakes actually release pretty good. Now, yes, they are a lot of terrible remakes out there. I'm pretty sure all of us can just think about a couple on the top of our head, but I'll say that the majority of remakes that end up releasing rather comes out in a really good state, or if not that, just like good enough, where it's still a good way for you to play that story and experience that game. And that is how most remakes go. But here's the thing, currently right now, we might be right around the corner of the first real bad game that's going to get remake, and that might be Resident Evil 5. I'm pretty sure all of us know that for the past few years, Capcom has had an obsession of remaking every single Resident Evil game, and not so long ago, I think around last year, I don't really remember when this game came out, time is just an illusion at this point, they ended up releasing Resident Evil 4 Remake, something that tons of people love, it was really well received, and what comes after 4? Well, let me tell you 5. Resident Evil 5 is a very controversial game for multiple reasons, and one reason why a lot of people don't like the game is because, well, it's not really that good, and that's something that I have to agree with. Resident Evil 5 will comfortably be in my good bad game list, where it's a game where when you really sit down and come and think about it, it's not really that good. I mean, the story isn't great, the gameplay is just really jank, but it is one of those games that is a lot of fun. I still truly believe that if you get one of your friends and play Resident Evil 5 multiplayer, you are going to have a really good time. You're going to be sitting down and you're going to be laughing so hard that it's actually going to hurt your chest because the game is that much fun, which I think is completely fine. I mean, you can still have fun with something that's bad and acknowledge that it's still bad. But here's the thing, Resident Evil 5 has kind of entered the average life cycle of every bad video game. How it kind of reached the gaslight arc where I'm seeing like a lot of people pretend that the game is good. This is something that I ended up realizing where a bad game released, and at the release date of the game, everyone says is bad, but fast forward like 10 years later, for some weird reason, tons of people come together rather saying that the game was actually good and people were too stupid back then, or the game was underrated. Something that's really weird. But either way, me, and I think thousands of other people think that this game is going to get remake. And that's just going to be something very interesting because how is something like that going to be done? How are you going to take a game that a lot of people don't like and remake it to actually be something good? Let me just give like a hypothetical example. A game that everyone could agree with is just bad. Devil May Cry 2. This is a game that I played. It is absolutely terrible. And everything bad that you heard about the game is true. Let's say we live in a fantasy world where the Devil May Cry team and Capcom decides that they are going to go and remake this game for the modern day, but they're actually going to make this a good game. How are you going to be able to sell something like that? That's one thing I want to wonder. And two, when it comes to that, and I think Resident Evil 5, if that does get remake, you're going to have a real, what's that like smart people thing that video essayists always bring up? The ships of Theseus? Is that what it's called? The little equation where like if you take a ship and the ship is broken and you give the ship new parts, how much new parts add on that ship? Is it still the same ship? I think I explained that terribly. I'll probably just have me in the future actually explain it well. But that's basically the question you kind of get if you go and do something like that. Like, if I take a game that's bad, how much would I have to change the game for it to still be the same one? Like, if I take a game like Devil May Cry 2, completely remake it, and the game is completely different, am I still playing Devil May Cry 2 or the original game? Or did I just make something completely new? Then I make a brand new product, and did I waste my time remaking the game? Or should the company have put that effort in to actually make something brand new? I think that's going to be like the real question if a company decides to do something like that. And it's just a thing that I've been wondering about for the past few days, so I just wanted to hear what you people think about that. Do you think that's something that a company could ever do in the future? Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think that's something that's ever going to happen. I mean, a lot of AAA studios are just like anti-risk right now, so they probably will never go out of their way to take a game that was poorly received and remake it. But if it is something that a game company would want to do, I actually think Devil May Cry 2 will be a perfect game to go and test out that concept. But I think it's something that should be tried. I think it could go interesting, and who knows, if you remake the game good enough, it could go well. But either way, I'm kind of just living in a world of hypothetical right now, and this is just the thing that I wanted to go and yap about. My name is Lua. You have a good day, or night.